Hi everyone, my name is Jonathan, and I'm really excited today to give you a quick overview of MCP and what it means for you, and if you're using Smartlead, how to integrate that into your LLMs like Claude, OpenAI, and also into workflow automation platforms like n8n. So we can start out by just going into Visual Studio Code. We can just open up the terminal and we can make a test directory for Smartlead. And now that we're in the test directory, we can go ahead and we can clone the repository from Gene Technologies website. So if we take that URL, we type in git clone. And now that once you're in the repository, we're going to do a couple of quick pathways. So whether or not you are going to install this for use on Claude in your local desktop application, or whether or not you want to use this for n8n. So first, we're going to do this for Claude, and they mostly overlap in a lot of ways, but just open up a new terminal and type in npm install. And this is just going to prepare the code base to be able to run the necessary functions. And then after that, we can run npm start. And as you'll see here, the problem so far is that we don't have the necessary keys. And so in .m.example, you can see you're going to need to make a new environment file. And in this file, you're going to store your necessary environment variables. So you're going to need your own Smartlead API key that's a reference to your platform, which you can get through the developer dashboard and settings. And you're going to also need your Gene license key. So in order to access this, you're actually going to have to go to this license server URL right here. Now this is just important because this money we put back into the application so that we can continue to improve its features, make the product better for users, and so we can build this out and build a community around it. And for the basic version, what you'll do is you'll just direct to this page, and I've already done this, but once you purchase a basic subscription, you will be able to receive a code. And once you get that code, then you just go ahead and you drop that into your environment file. So I'm just going to go ahead and copy this. Once again, these are the only fields that are really that important. These two. And I'm going to copy this offline really quick, but I'll be right back. Okay, now that you've dropped your environment variables in your .n file, we can go ahead and run this again. And you'll see that this time it runs a bit differently, and it shows you that you run the basic tier. It shows you now have access to campaign management, lead management, etc., etc. And this is all very helpful for knowing that the tools, you do have access to them, and we can move forward. Now, to get this implemented in Claude, you're actually going to need to go to the Claude application, and you're going to need to go into settings, developer, and then you're going to need to edit the config file. So this is pretty simple, and we've even included an example of the config here. But you want to make sure that you're actually routing this to the actual file path on your computer, your local file path, and you're also going to place in the Smartlead API key here as well. And then you're just going to save that down, and I'm going to go do this in the background, and then I'll be right back. But it's really important also that after you do this, you close down and restart Claude before the tools will actually start populating. Okay, so if you've successfully followed along so far, now that you've configured your config file so that it can access the local repository that has all these tooling, it should now be able to access them, and they should flow into Claude. And as you can see right over here, 20 MCP tools have been made available, and we can even increase or decrease these depending on what we want to use. So just for the sake of this video, I can also just go ahead and drop a quick command. So what tools do I have available? And what's happening is the LLM is actually receiving in the prompt a list of the tools, and it can see and return those in the prompt. That's very helpful, and now that we know how to do this on Claude, we can even try a quick thing and help me create a test campaign just to see kind of how it works in action. I'm always very impressed. And then so this is just made a test campaign, not just on this application, but it's actually flowed into your Smartlead software. Okay, so now we've got this successfully running on Claude. That's great. That's very helpful. And even if you want to do some toggling of what you have access to, you can see in this config file right here. The reason that not all of the tools are showing up is because I've only marked true here for campaign management, for lead management. If I marked all of these true, there'd actually be a surplus of 60 tools that would have access to, but just for the simplicity of this video, I wanted to keep it kind of distilled down to some more simple tool counts. But now, say you wanted to run this instead of just on Claude, but you want to run this with n8n, we can go ahead and run, instead of npm start, npm run start sse. And what this is doing is it's interacting with the server in a different way, and it's making it able to send requests. The one thing that is to be noted after this point is that n8n can't interact with your local device in its current capacity because it is run on the cloud. But we can use a quick ngrok tunnel based on the local port, and it'll create this really handy URL for us. So we can just copy that. We can jump into our MCP client in our n8n workflow. And if we drop this, and then also remembering to add a -sse at the end, you'll see that we now have populated a whole bunch of tools that we can use in our workflow automations. And so you can select which tools to use. You can just make sure that all of them are available. It's very, very dynamic, and it's very helpful for making really great automations. So let's just save this down, and we can even now test in here as well. So what tools do I have available? And we'll see just how this command will flow through the AI agent. Calls the model, restores memory, checks memory, and checks the MCP client. And so now it is able to tell you exactly what tools you have access to. And then obviously you can build workflows that actually use these tools as well. All right, thanks for joining me and learning all about our MCP Smartlead servers. Now I'm pretty new to the whole YouTube thing, but I'm supposing that this is where you're supposed to ask to drop a like and to just follow up with us on our GitHub repository, test out the tooling, let us know what you think, and I'd love to get your personal feedback as well, and so we can continue to improve the product.